This is a 25mm T1.05 cinema lens from 7Artisans. Now this lens is designed for APS-C sensors or Super35 sensors, like the Canon C70 that I'm recording at the moment, also the B camera, which is my red Komodo. So let's talk about the design of the lens first, and then I will share some footage with you taken with the C70 and the red Komodo. Like I said earlier, this lens is designed for APS-C or Super35 sensors. If you use this lens on a full frame sensor, you're going to get a big black ring around the image basically. This is only designed for APS-C and Super35. This is a full manual lens. There are no contact points at the back of the lens, so there's no communication between the lens and the camera. This is an RF mount lens, but you can also get this lens in Fuji X mount, Sony E mount, Leica L mount or the L mount system, and Micro Four Thirds. It's a full metal lens mount on the back. You've got your iris ring, which is basically an aperture ring on a photography lens, but this is declicked, so it's smooth all the way around. It's a little bit tight, but there are no tight spots. I guess it will loosen up over time. Now, its fastest T-stop is T1.05, and it goes all the way up to T16. Then you've got your focus ring, which is also geared the same as the iris ring, and it's a 270-degree focus throw, and it is quite smooth. Again, there's no tight spots, but it's a little bit tight. The closest focusing on this lens is 23 centimeters, and it goes all the way to infinity. Well, actually, it goes past infinity. So infinity is there, and it will go past infinity. So you do have to be careful. You can't just whiz it all the way around to infinity stop, because it does go past. On the front of the lens, you've got an 82mm filter thread, and the outer diameter of the lens is 90mm, so you can fit a matte box on there as well. It comes with this nice push over the top lens cap. It's actually really well made, and it fits really nice on there. Inside the lens, you have 11 elements, and you have a 13-piece aperture blade, or iris blades, basically. You can also purchase this lens in a 35mm T1.05 and a 50mm T1.05. So you can actually have a complete set, 25, 35, and 50mm. This lens works really well on the Canon C70 and the red Komodo. It's got a nice weight to it, so it balances the cameras really well. Now, I've never used a cinema lens with such a fast T-stop as this, so I have nothing to compare it with. But at T1.05, the image does look a little bit soft, it has kind of a glow to it. It's not bad, but you have to be aware of that at T1.05. There is a glow to the image, or kind of a softness to the image. But once you stop it down, the image gets a lot better. I have to say, it's incredibly hard to focus this lens at T1.05, especially on the C70 and the red Komodo. The focus peaking on those cameras works incredibly well, but I did find it very hard to keep things in focus, especially handheld. Now, because this lens has got a bit of weight to it, it does actually help stabilize the red Komodo footage, because the more weight to the camera, the more stable the footage is going to be. You're going to get rid of those micro judders. So that was quite a nice part of this lens. It is quite heavy. It's got a bit of weight to it for its size, but I didn't find it uncomfortable. It was very easy to use this on the red Komodo or the C70 for a few hours, no problems at all. Now, once you stop this lens down to say T2, it gets a lot sharper and there's more contrast in the image. You do lose some of that contrast when you're shooting at T1.05, but once you stop it down to about T2, the image looks a lot better. It has a nice modern look to the image, I would say. Nice and sharp with quite a bit of contrast as well. So it's a very nice lens once you stop it down to T2 and onwards. This lens handles lens flare really well. The footage you're about to see was shot on the Canon C70. The reason I use the C70 is it has internal NDs. I didn't want to put any NDs or any filters on the front of the lens because that could affect the test. This is a really nice affordable cinema lens from 7Artisans. I only have a couple of issues with the lens. The first being the gears on the focus and the iris are quite close together. I think if you were to use an iris motor and a focus motor, I don't think they'd go together that close. May not be an issue, but that's something to be aware of. And also, you can see the front element pumps in and out on the lens when you're focusing. Now, when you attach an adapter ring that I've got here, which is for my matte boxes, you try and focus to the closest focusing point, which is 23 centimeters. It won't go all the way. It jams up against it and it gets stuck. If you try and force it anymore, it will get stuck on there. This may not happen with 82mm filters. I don't own any 82mm filters. Anything larger than 77mm, I always use a matte box. It may not be an issue for some people, so it's something to be aware of. You could actually jam the lens. I think the thread needs to be a little bit longer at the front, but that's all I can find wrong with the lens. Now, 7Artisans have just launched a new line of cinema lenses for full frame sensors. I'll put a link to those lenses down below in the description. I'll also put a link to this lens and the other lenses in the lineup for the APS-C and Super 35. So if you want to check them out for yourselves, click the links down below. So that's it for this video on the 7Artisans 25mm T1.05 cinema lens. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you so much for watching.